Oh my goodness. Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Really, I just want to start this time that we're spending together thanking you so very much for your willingness to participate in this panel. This was something that was done very quickly. We know every single one of you here. I love you. I respect you. And so therefore, I believe that your voices need to be heard. I want you to know that all week we have been torn about this situation that's playing through, and it's horrible, and it's been going on for a very long time. I understand. We were paying attention to what organizations were doing, and a lot of it's at social media, and those corporate statements, there's affirmations. Different approach. I've participated myself, but the way Women's Council is, we share our experiences, but not just from a business perspective, but from a very personal experiences as well. And so with that being said, we felt our reaction to what's happening needs to be a little bit different. We felt our reaction and narrative should not come from corporate headquarters. I think we felt that it was important to put people to it. So I hope you agree that made a lot of sense. I think we owe it to our membership to promote an understanding, and so therefore we find ourselves here together today. With that being said, what I'd like to do just to start, with your permission, if you could just maybe tell us a little bit about why you joined the Women's Council, how you got involved and things like that. Anybody want to pop in and start the conversation?
I can go first, maybe.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Danette O'Neill, affectionately known as Danette D, girlfriend Danny. Sarah. So I've been a part of Women's Council, I think now for maybe about 25 years. I got involved because the president then twisted my arm. And then after I came to the meetings, I had such a passion for education and for meeting people. That's why I stayed. And so I'm that person that kind of like rolls up the ranks, and then I just get in where I fit in. Now, if there's a need, they call me. I've served in all kind of capacities and committees. I have taught on a national level. So wherever they need me now, I just fall in. And because of this state of emergency, it looks like I'm going to be state president for another year. Okay.
Thank you for all that you do.
I'll jump in.
There you go, Nikki.
I'll jump in. So I began, I think this is my 7th consecutive year as a Women's Council member. I was a member in a couple other years prior to, but consecutively 7 years. And I honestly became involved at Women's Council Chicago because there was a lack of diversity. I started going to the meetings, always amazing educational content that I wasn't getting elsewhere, which is what first attracted me. But when I started looking at the leadership, there was a lack of diversity. And I decided, you can't complain from the sidelines. You got to get involved, and you've got to make the change from within. And as the 4th Black president of Women's Council Chicago, since they were started in 1987, I believe, I was president in 2017. I mean, I think that says a lot.
It certainly does.
I think I'll go.
Go ahead, Tracy.
This is a good segue. So I've been in the industry for a number of years. I took a pause during the real estate collapse. And when I decided to come back, I wanted to come back with purpose. The managing broker at that time advised that I should join Women's Council. I knew nothing about Women's Council. And I did. I went to an event. And when Nakia talks about diversity, one of the things I saw the women that looked like me. I saw a gamut of people who were in different facets of the profession, from attorneys, title companies, lenders. I was impressed by that. But I was also encouraged by the acceptance, like the willingness to grab me and say, come on, let's do this. So I continued to show up, and through watching progressive people like Sarah, like Carrie, like Makia, and some of the other women across the country, I was encouraged to step up, and I knew I had people who had my back. So when we talk about diversity and welcoming, me being the 5th Black president of Chicago Network, that's been my personal mission, is to share with others and make sure that I bring them along as well.
Right.
Well, I think I was going to say I can jump in now because that's perfect. That's a great segue. 27 years ago, I became a Realtor. And 27 years ago, I became a Women's Council member. Of course, at that time, needless to say, I was the first Black or African American who was the president. It was a chapter then. And of course, the next year, I was president. So there you go. But the reason I'm here today is because of the first national meeting that I went to 2 years after becoming a member. And I saw Maxine Jennings, who was the first African-American national president for Women's Council. And at that time, she was not the president, but she was a chair. And when I saw her, I said, this is a place that I can blossom in. And then after that, I met Joanne Poole and Bobby Williams and so many other dynamic women that were role models for me. And that's why I'm here today, because of that start and where we're at.
Joanne, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I'm happy to participate because I tell you, so much of what's been said is probably true for all of us. When I first started, and it's been 31 years ago, so I'm with Women's Council. I've been a member for 31 years. And so I've seen it evolve and not just revolve. And I am proud of that. When in my chapter, when I became a member, I was the only person of color. But it felt good and it felt safe. And it was a place to grow. People encouraged me, supported me. And as I came through the line, both at local and state, I was able to put a face, I think, on the industry and a welcoming face for people who look like me. And so I feel really good about that. Women's Council is a safe environment. It is a place for all of us to be able to grow, where many industries have given opportunities, but they can put a damper on it. They want you to grow, but they don't want you to grow too far. So the one thing that I appreciate about Women's Council is there is no ceiling in Women's Council if that's what you want to do. And I am proud to say for 31 years that I've been a member, and I'm proud of every year that I've been a member. And I appreciate you, Brenda, taking the time and taking the lead on putting this group together, because this is a very, very uncomfortable thing for you to do. But I do know the uncomfortable has to become comfortable. We have to have this kind of a dialogue to help people understand that we're in this together. If we can do everything else together, we can do this too.
Indeed, we can. Thank you, Joanne. Oh, I was just going to ask Sarah to say something. I think that's apropos, Sarah, that's happening right now.
Okay, yes. I'm like, who just needs to shut up? So,
that's our role right now. I mean, you know.
Yes, I don't know if anybody
who
on this call played double dutch, would jump to double dutch, or yeah. So
you're from Chicago, you did
right. And so my women's council,
really good
and German double dutch.
So my women's council experience was a little bit like double dutch. The first go round wasn't so good, and then I came back. And I shouldn't say it was bad, but I mean I don't want to say that it was all like rosy. I've had my license since 1997, but really practicing residential probably since 04, 05. And I think that was my first Women's Council meeting. And it was, I just found it because I was just looking for something different. It was a great speaker. It was talking about financial planning. It was outstanding. And then I went with my business partner at the time, and I remember it was up north. I remember this as clear as day. We had nothing in common except we were women. Age, nothing. So no one said anything to us ever, which is ironic how we always say join. So no one said anything to us. we went back for another one because it was another great meeting. Because I said, I don't need them to talk to me because I'm just coming for content, so I'm good. And then I didn't join because I didn't want to go back because we have enough places to go where people don't speak to us. So I didn't want to be paying too much to keep going places that people didn't speak to me. So I think years later, and it wasn't even like I was shocked. So that's not to say anything about an organization, but sometimes you just know that there's just trials and tribulations, what you go through or whatever, and it is what it is. But came back around, and I think that was when, after, I guess, Chicago was about to lose its charter, get more involvement with my real estate license, joined some organizations, committees, and then found out about Women's Council, went back, had a phenomenal time, learned so much. And we have 4 and 5, so we have number 3. So when you see a hashtag, we go 3, 4, and 5, that's what we're referring to. So if Nakia comment, I'll go 4, Tracy also 5, so that's our little inside joke. So went back and joined, and I've been a member, I guess if you can say how many years, then it's, I would say probably about 6 or 7 consecutive years, and was president in 2016. So prior to that, it's been a while. So I'll be a lifer, I guess. So once you get inducted to a president, so, and right now just serving as a general member and helping to encourage leaders, current, past, future, to kind of be involved in the organization. But I will say it was because I had thought about going back, but I just didn't feel like being that only one at that time. I had enough choices to do, and not because it was, it's like, oh no, I'll be the only one someplace else. And then, but it wasn't a lot, but it was just, I think when I went back, it was more, I had a couple of other people, and then it was just more welcoming. It was just, I think it was just the right time. Sometimes it's just not the right time.
Sometimes. That's true. That's true. That's true. Are you raising your hand, Miss Deborah Gilmore?
Well, I can go. I can go. This year I have licensed since 1990, it'll be 30 years, and I joined the second year, 91, I got licensed in October, so I joined that January Women's Council. And on my first meeting, I really joined because out of fear. I came out of nursing, been there for years, and didn't know no one. And I was afraid if I didn't make some contact with people in the industry, I was not going to have any business. So as a professional organization, because I just didn't necessarily like it because it was a woman's organization, but a professional organization, I went on and joined. And that's when you find out you are the only one. And I had some reservations. Oh God, what did I do now? So, and you just work through it. You're the only one, you're the only one, So it's not like I had not been in situations coming through grade school, high school, as the only one or as a minority. But I joined for getting to know people to help business, and Women's Council gave me a lot of confidence. And then actually when I got to the point that they asked me to maybe run for president, national president, I was the second Black person after Maxine Jennings. Of course, I tried to get that pretty woman on the second row down there called Margot to go before me, but she was so hard-headed, she would not do that. She would not do that. So we went on, and I think it was good that Margot and I were together at the time. It helped out a lot. And I got to know the Joanne Poole. I was just in awe of Joanne. I told her something very stupid one day, we were out there at Leadership Academy, but we had so much fun. I learned so much from people like Joanne, and I continue to learn from everyone on this stage right here, this panel. And that's what I am. I never got into Women's Council to become president. I just wanted to get into the background workings of the tools of it. I want to be nosy. I just want to know how to make it work. So that's me. But being only is a thing that I think all of you can attest to. You've been in that place at some time, some point in your life, and you just roll with it. I've never been one that worried about where someone came from. As a matter of fact, I was intrigued if you're from India. Fidos Rama was there also. And she was from India, remember Fidos? And I was in awe of her. We had another lady that was in my local, she was also our state president, Jasmine Sokolowski. She was from Hawaii. So, I always enjoyed the cultures. I'm originally from Chicago, so if you go through Chicago, you go through Italian, Chinatown, Polish Village, you go through every nationality, Indian. Yeah. And so it just never bothered me. But I am bothered by the things that are happening today.
Mhm.
Very much.
And can I say something?
Yes.
The greatest pleasure was being Deborah's president-elect, but I have been called Deborah and Joanne more times than a little bit here, you know, and I'm thinking we look just a little bit different.
I'm taller. I'm taller.
Oh my goodness. That's
Yeah,
horrible.
okay.
Oh my goodness. So Carrie's got her hand raised.
Okay, so I've been a member of Women's Council since 2013. I got my real estate license back in 2001, and I can remember being invited to a Women's Council event somewhere on the north side of Chicago, Sarah. So, and my experience was a little bit different. I was invited to be in a fashion show, a little different, and I was never asked to be a member. I didn't know. And, but I will say in 2013, that's when the first ask came. So I became a member because I was asked. Now, and I really got involved prior to that because I was asked to speak. Otherwise, I really didn't know Women's Council. So that's pretty much why I got involved. Now, and when I got involved, I realized the network that I was a part of was really not tech savvy. And at that time, not today, I was the only Black person. Right. And then I believe I might be the first Black person for our West Suburban network. And since then, there's been 2 Black people that have been president. Now, we are a little bit more diverse today than we were prior to that. And things are changing. But I will say, Women's Council has really been a platform for me in many ways, not just as a realtor, but as a way to have great connections and a great way to learn leadership.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Marky?
Yeah, well, you know, I figured I had said enough the other day and that I didn't need to say.
Marky,
yes.
Everyone on this call is, members and all that kind of stuff. And you, my friend, have influenced so many of us. And I know how hard this was. So I want to hear from you, my friend, as well.
Well, first, what did she do yesterday? I missed that.
Oh, was it yesterday? I don't even know. Was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was the day before.
It was about 48 hours ago. I had a very honest, heartfelt conversation with the internet about what's going on in Chicago, the current devastation, but more importantly, as a mother of African-American male children, my family is heavily vested in our children. And I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my child. And I shouldn't have to pray different at night.
Yeah, you do.
About my concerns for him based on the complexion of his skin.
Right.
Because we've afforded him every opportunity in this world, and he's phenomenal, right? Yeah. So, and it went on and on and on. But I tell you, the impact of the video is that it's probably been viewed over 25,000 times, and realtors globally have provided about $25,000 in seed money to the 77 communities of the city of Chicago. So,
good.
I would say every tear and emotion was worth it. So when I think about the Women's Council, because I have to give a totally different answer.
Sure.
In the Chicagoland area, at the time that I initially joined the organization, there wasn't any minority involvement, and I'm clear that Chicago is the most segregated city in this country, racially and economically. And I did not see anything going on the south side of Chicago. Now, what I'm clear about is that I leave my husband and my children, and I put myself in the situation to 75% of the time be the only minority. Now, I don't ever feel uncomfortable when I do so. My realtor family loves and embraces me. And as I tell people, and there's one thing they gonna make for sure is that I get home safely, right? If nothing else, they're gonna make sure I get on that plane. They don't know what's gonna happen once I get back to Chicago. And they're clear what they're getting before they hire me. And so it's no mistake what they get when they call or email Marky to come to work. And so I love my job and I feel comfortable, but I am clear to let people know I don't believe that the resources are equally distributed. So when it came to the Women's Council, I didn't see that the resources were being equally distributed, and I needed to align myself with organizations that I felt could give more, especially to the South Side of Chicago, in the most segregated city. So then comes along Sarah, Nakia Pippion, Carrie Little, who are my friends. I mean, these are more than my friends. We breaking bread together. If we have a hard day, we having a cocktail together. And when they took on the roles of leadership, I don't think that we should ever compete for leadership roles. There's too many different organizations that need us, and we need to spread ourselves, and then we need to come back and have a cocktail about all the resources and how to leverage them. And so I've been in and out of the Women's Council. And let me say one other thing. I think it's unfair to the Women's Council that, to me, they're the hardest working group at the national, or in conjunction with the National Association of Realtors. And women, not only us as women here today, are we experiencing racism, we also experience sexism. And I'm realizing the sexism is actually worse than the racism. And really, to be honest with you, let me tell you this, Brenda Lee, I always thought it's because I was Black. I ain't realized it was really because I'm a woman, right? And so with that being said, it's been in and out, but I'm clear the leaders are born here. But I just think it's unfair that a organization dominated by smart, educated women has to be the hardest working organization. Because I would like for some of the men, no offense, Jeff, to have to work the way that the Women's Council women have to work, because ain't nobody working as hard as y'all are. Just so I don't know if that was the answer you was looking for, but there you go.
There are no right or wrong or anything here, because quite honestly, again, I feel like I'm with friends, and I wanna truly listen. So honestly, and it's interesting the way you all have a comment about the Women's Council, and but wasn't all, Sarah, you made a comment about wondering if it was the right place for you because you were not necessarily someone that people were engaging with, and Deborah, you mentioned the one. I'm the one.
I'm the one, always the one.
Like, so how would you characterize the way the Women's Council has embraced you? Those of you who haven't felt they spoke to it, how do you feel? And how can we assist others in making our world more inclusive and being better listeners and all that kind of stuff? Sarah, you got a big smile on your face. I don't know if you're reading something. You got something to say.
No. I mean, I'm just, Tracy, Marky, Carrie, because we all know, is there a meeting after the meeting? We always have a meeting after the meeting, and we all know about that. So
and so, are you a part of the meeting after the meeting, or is there?
Oh, we're the leaders of the meeting after the meeting. Maybe Nakia can say it in a nice, eloquent way to kind of what we're saying. But we'll have a meeting after this meeting for sure.
Nakia,
Brenda, I think when you look at what Women's Council has given, I think when I went in as local chapter at the time as president, there were misconceptions. You can see the preconception of how I was personally because I was Black, how it may be, and how people started gathering around me just in case I could not do the job. They automatically assumed I could not do the job. I had either less intelligence or less ability to lead. Even though I had been 11 years in management, they decided I could not. So I was always in the proofing stage. And so once I started, and I've always been in education. So when I mentioned education, I got as much education, I got as much designations, I did as much job in committee work with Women's Council as with my local. And when it came to a time when they wanted someone to be state president, they asked me to run for state because they didn't have anybody doing the qualification. But you always are in that proving stage initially. And I'll never forget, and when I became national president, I had to present how the year was going to be, and I can see everybody's eyes down that table like, what the hell she going to say now? What is it going to be? And when you come out with something, they say, well, that's not bad, idea, you're being creative. But it's always, once I went through that, I would hope, and I stayed with it, and I'm no hero or anything else, I stayed with it because I looked and saw not too many people at all like me in Women's Council. And I said, somebody got to take the hit so that next person can go up the hall and say, well, I can do this too. And so, because once I'm through, I'm on to the next thing. But Women's Council gave me the confidence to go on, and I really had to take a member aside. This is one of the president's side, and kind of read her the riot act. And once that, she became a friend. And sometimes you have to do some gentle confrontation, be softly assertive, because you know that everybody sees me as jovial, jokey, and have fun. But when I come to hit it for business, I'm coming for business. You better be straight with it. And so if you approach me wrong, and that management comes out of me, if you approach me wrong, we're going to the side in the corner. And so that's what we did. And I had to tell her very nicely how it was. I had to ask her, did you think I got this far because I didn't know what the hell I was doing? That is that. So, you know, you have to constantly facing that. But I don't know if the others have. I know Joanne, she's been all the way to NAR, and I don't know what she had to face. My God, she is a battle angel to go that far, you know, really.
We are constantly, we never leave the proofing stage.
That's right.
I am introduced in my state as the first Black president. They don't leave that off. Okay? Why can't it just stop with, this is the president of Women's Council? It's always that tag. Now, Brenda, because I'm so fair-skinned, most people thought I was white. Now, I have a whole lot of different races in me, okay? And I'm a half-breed, okay? But still, that's why I was so widely accepted, because I'm fair-skinned and I have blonde hair, okay? And so the positions that I get is because they know they need the, I'm just being frank since we can't. Please, okay. The positions that I get, and even that I get on the other side at NAR, is because
they need
the need for diversity.
The need for diversity.
But I don't offend anybody with how I look. You see, I fit in because I'm fair-skinned and I have blonde hair. Now, thank God, and Joanne and Margot, you know, those are mentors of mine, and they have recommended me for positions that I otherwise would not have known about. And thank God for them, because I was accepted and I was able to go to the top. But I cannot excel in my home state because I am blocked because of this.
That's right.
And so we're not talking Women's Council. They love me. Okay, but in real estate leadership, period, I am blocked in my home state, and Bakel has had this experience.
I've had it,
and a lot of our other sisters and brothers that we talk about. And so I excelled in national, and so it took a few people who was intoxicated last year to say. And I was in their company. They were intoxicated at one of our RPAC events, and they said, "Danette, you know why you don't like? They don't like you because you don't need any one of them to excel." And I'm like, "Oh." And I'm like, and what I interpret that is that I have found a way to create and recreate value and to make myself better in the real estate in the NAR environment. And so my state don't promote me. It's other people that recommend me, like these women on this line, and other people at NAR that see the value, and that's how I get promoted. And I do a good job in that. But you need to know that because we love you all, and when I say you all, other people that's not Black, it could be Asian, white, Indian, whatever. And we are constantly struggling every day to find a way to cry out and still be politically correct. Okay? We don't want to offend you all. So there's a lot of stuff that I have to hold back and from saying. It's just like if you read my Facebook post, I'm thinking I'm reporting on one kid that got pulled over driving while Black 3 times, and my other son won. I told the other son who's downstairs that I'm having this call. He confessed to me 2 other times he's gotten pulled over in the last couple of months with a suit on. They're educators. You all, what you all need to know is what we go through just to sell a property. How we have to tell our Asian friends to take down their altars, and our Black friends to take down their family pictures and their Black art. And how I can't send a Muslim to list, one of my Muslim agents to list the house because they call back the owner and say, don't send this unclean spirit this in my house. This is what we deal with to market real estate every single day. So those tears, when you started crying in the beginning, we were right there ready to cry with you, because this is what we do every day when we hear this stuff, and this is hard. And, I'm glad that you asked our opinion of this, but this is what we go through, and we have not been able to find a way to tell you that this is our life every day.
Well,
Every day.
Now.
You know what, Brenda? I want to say this because I don't want this to go by. You, and I don't know about anyone else, you are the first person to reach out to us, and I'm pretty sure most of us anticipated that you would be the person to reach out. It wasn't like I had a list, who's going to reach out, right? I'm just going to be honest. But when I got your text message, it did not shock me about who you are as a person. Now, and this is the cream of the crop you got here. This is the most educated, giving group of women, no matter what color, right, that are members of the National Association of Realtors. What I will say is this. I'm the only one who was willing to cry. We're all crying, okay? Right. And it just got to the point that everybody, well, I'm not emotional. I think that my husband has never seen me cry like that, okay? And I've been with him for 15 years, just so you can be clear. But we don't talk about this because we're strong women, right? And we bottle it up. Let me say this. We bottle it up to the point that we understand NARs. We understand the numbers. You know how many times we've had to walk out of meeting, we sucking it up? Don't let them see you sweat. Don't let your emotions show. But when we hit that parking lot, when we get in our car, we letting loose. The car has seen more tears because our intelligence has been insulted. And then we question, and why are we doing this? Because our parents and our grandparents instilled something in us, and we're not supposed to have to essentially, for lack of better terms, kiss that much ass to be of service to others.
Oh, yeah. You talk about crying. It was so sad this morning. I've been crying every day. Yeah. But this morning, I didn't want my husband to see me cry, so I put my face underwater. That's so I could cry. And you just understand when you have someone hit you, what I had to did on Facebook with me the other day. I read a post for friends I've known for 30 years, really nice friends I've known for 30 years. And the post was that they were looking at a Catholic church there in Chicago or New York, and they had written Black Lives Matter on it in done graffiti. And their comments were, isn't this disgusting? Just absolutely awful. I am horrified. And it hit a nerve on me, and I went off in writing. I said, be horrified for Floyd. You can't come to me, and I'm a Catholic, and tell me you horrified by graffiti. It's going to be sandblasted off by the end of the week and look like it's new. We can't make the man who's dead new again. We can't make that child that was laying on the bed, she's a first responder, taking a nap and got shot 8 times. You can't bring her back. This is what I'm calling it. Or you can't help the guy that's jogging down that street, I'm going to cuss now, and 2 guys waiting on to kill him. We have to look at this when we look at things that have been happening to us through the years, and we have been very silent. And Margot she's tempered me sometimes. We were together. She does temper me because I try to go off, but I do. I try.
Meeting after the meeting, we still do have those too.
Yeah, we go off.
And the
meeting after the meeting.
Meeting after the meeting, and so when you have that happen, I have to put in that writing, I said, this is institutionalized. They call it lynching. This is what it is. When people are killed with no provocation, they're restrained and they point blankly kill for no reason. That's a lynching, especially when it happens to brown and Black people. And so when you see this happening over and over and over again, in your mind, Marky, you think about your boys. I think about every child I know, male or female, I think about my husband when he goes to the grocery store. He could do the wrong thing, as sick as he is, walking funny. 2 cops can come in there and throw him down the ground. When they throw him down, they're going to kill him because he's not in good health as it is. So you think about that. When I go out, I think I'm a Sandra Bland. I forget to put on my traffic light. A cop having a bad day said, well, I'm going to get somebody today. Pull me over, a bad cop, because not all cops are bad. Pull me over, and I could end up in jail. And like Sandra Bland, she was hung in jail on her way to a job interview. We live in a bubble, a world that is different. And I had to tell a lot of people that are not Black that your bubble is different from mine. I live in a double bubble. I have to live in your world as well as mine. And that's what happens to us. And we have held back. I can't hold back anymore. I just have to say what's on my mind. I'm not young anymore to hold back and say it's going to be okay. You know, when I left Chicago, went south to went to high school, 1 year elementary. The first time I went to Chicago, you see the fountains, one for white and one for color. It blew my mind. It was real. It was a reality I had not seen. But I know, as someone said, Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in the world. I know that. But this stuff here, people, everybody, I don't care what culture you're from, I don't care who you are. As a nurse, I know when they peel back that skin, all of us are pink. All of us are pink. There's nothing here different. All right? So I don't care who you're. Everybody has to band together and say, this has got to stop. The systemized. I was able to go before COVID hit in December. I went to the museums in Montgomery to look at the places, the people that have been lynched throughout the United States, and they have them by state down to county. Some states look like people got up, drank coffee that morning, said, I feel good, I look good. I think I'm going to get me a Black man today. And that's what happened. Just like they were killing more than 10 or 15 a day. So when this happens, you see it happen. They can't hang people anymore because they got to go home and explain to the daughters and the sons, well, why was that man hanging half burned? They can't do that anymore. So what they do, they have enter places of authority where they can do it with the authority behind them. And we know that. So I hope this here will help as we look at Women's Council, because we were the first to become very aware of diversity and got NAR into it, and diversity, that we've started looking at our national line, our people in our networks, that they start resembling the membership. That's it. I try to support everybody. I don't care who you are. If you're good, I try to support and get you there. And you can be Hispanic, Asian, you can be white, you can be Black. I don't care. But we've got to get more diversity in our national line, and that has happened because I think since Margot. That's it.
Hey, Margot.
You, Margot. 1845.
There's the one thing I also want to say, Brenda, is this. I think everyone here has been the one, in something or many things. I was in my local association, the first Black in my president, my state association, first Black president. But I think that the first Realtor Party director, but I think what it did is what Danette said, and that is give me an opportunity to open the door for other folks, to encourage other folks to put a hand out to someone else and make sure they get into the mix. And so that's the one thing that I think that I've been able to do. And Women's Council helped me to get there. It has given me that same platform that Marky has mentioned because it gave me visibility. When I think about the fact that there are so many ways you can go in our industry, there's so many of us, but once you become a member of this family, it's a little bit different. And I won't say everyone has the same experience, every woman of color has the same experience, because they don't. Right. Even in my local network, I've had an occasion where that didn't happen. But I say on the whole, I've always said this, that I have seen more welcoming and diversity in Women's Council than any other aspect of NAR, of any of our industry. So, I think that all of the things that we're talking about here, and I internalize them, I believe them, I've talked about when people want to touch my hair, and yes, it's different, you know. Don't touch my hair, just like you don't want anybody touching your belly when you're pregnant. I'm just saying, you know, those are things, you know, when I talk about my grandbabies and how I have to worry every time they walk out the door. And I'm not just saying about my grandsons or my son, I'm talking about my granddaughters too. When I have to give them the talk about what to do if you're ever or whenever you're stopped, then that should not be.
That should not.
I think that's what it is when I get worked up, when I get to thinking about Mr. Floyd, about what has happened to George Floyd. This, you know, it has gone on so long. I'm 60-some years old. You heard that, 60-some?
You
okay.
baby. A child. You're a child.
It has been going on and on, and it should stop with the Nakias, with the Sarah Wares, and everyone else, and hopefully with this conversation that we're having all over the world, not just here, but hopefully we can start some action that's going to make a difference. And maybe Mr. Floyd will have a legacy. That's what I'm thinking. So there you go.
Thanks. I know, Joanne, go ahead, Joanne, and Joanne, and then Nakia, I know that you have a comment as well. So go ahead, Joanne, and then Marky.
Okay, great.
Your comment.
Great. I'll keep mine short.
Not necessary.
No. It needs to be said, and it's one of the things that I think about when we talk about our sons. And this is not a 6 and 7 year old son. This is not a 12-year-old son we're having this conversation with. These are men that we still have to share with them. You know the rules of the road. You have to do this. You have to do this. If you're approached, you have to do this. And these are men who we're talking down to try to save their lives on a day-to-day basis. As many of us, it's interesting of the different generations who are on this phone call probably, and yet we still are singing the same song after all these years. So change can happen. I don't know in my lifetime if I will see the change happen, because I think at this point we thought some changes had happened, and they were just hampered. And so now it's at a place where it's a free for all, and I don't know how it takes only a little bit to get to where we are today. It'll take another lifetime to make it go away. So,
yeah. Go ahead, Nakia.
But it's Brenda, this is a great start.
Yeah.
It's a start. That's all it is, too, Joanne. Believe me, I know that. But we had to start somewhere.
Yes.
Totally. We had to start somewhere. Today's today.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
So go ahead, Nakia.
Yeah, today is a very good start, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation with the national president. To Marky's point, wasn't surprised at all that it was you that reached out on behalf of Women's Council and, of course, our friendship. But in terms of moving Women's Council forward, we've got to address a couple of things. Not only is there overt racism that happens, right? And I think many of us address that. We've got to deal with the covert racism that exists within our organization. As outlined, like Deborah mentioned, the proofing. We not only have to know the rules, we have to know the rules forwards, backwards, side, up and down. So a lot of us joke, a lot of women that I talk to on the phone joke that I'm the parliamentarian for Women's Council. It's not because policy is my thing. It's because I knew that I needed to know the mission statement, the vision, everything, the LPPM, which we used to have back then. I needed to know that forwards, backwards, sideways, because I was constantly challenged by not only members, but other leaders on the same board. So we have a different set of rules, and I think no one really has addressed that. So I wanted to bring that up. My experience with Women's Council Chicago and Women's Council Illinois, there was a separate set of rules for me as a Black leader. Me being only the third Black president for Women's Council Illinois since 1960 something.
Wow. Again,
Again, speaks volumes. And so we've got to address that when we read that mission statement, or a woman of color reads that mission statement that says we are a network of successful realtors advancing all women, because all is silent right now. So in terms of moving forward, things that we can do is to be purposefully inclusive. That means you have to go out and seek all women, including women of color, to come join this organization, to get involved, to chair committees, all that fun stuff. We can't just say, well, we accept them if they come. No, we have to go out and recruit if we're going to sustain this organization in the long term.
Yeah.
I believe that's the stymie we have. People like to see the leadership that represents them. When it's not there, they don't take much interest in it. And I think that has stymied us. We're moving, we're doing okay, but I think that has stymied us. And I agree with Nakia. Yeah, we need to go get people.
Yeah, okay is not good enough. Okay is not good enough.
Go ahead, Marky.
So a couple of things. One, I know that you are friends with other leadership. I would encourage you to let them know that it's time for them to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We're clear this is not a comfortable conversation for none of the parties involved. And that it's okay for them to reach out. And what is not acceptable, right? Because we talk about what's not acceptable, the comparison. So someone made a comparison on one of my posts about their 13-year-old child fears going out the house. Yeah, your 13-year-old child fears going out the house right now, right? But in 3-4 weeks, they're not going to fear that. How about being a grown, educated man, earning 6 figures with a wife and children? And when you leave your house, you have to strategically plan your route.
Exactly. You do.
Strategically plan your route. And I'm talking about strong, educated men. And so there is another person who I don't care for anyway, so she really should not have made a comment, wanted to talk about what happened in the 1930s and 1940s. You're talking about a period of time. I'm talking about centuries here.
Right.
So there's no comparison. We're not trying to compare. What we're saying is this is a problem.
Right.
And how do we come up with a solution to the problem? How do we get ahead of it? And anytime there's any remote comparison, we already know that you don't understand. At the moment you try to bring a comparison into this here situation, we mute at that point. Because what I say to myself, oh yeah, that you shouldn't have said nothing, because there is no comparison.
Right.
And I really just applaud the people who have reached out, including you, because a lot of people have gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable. But every last one of them, I knew when I saw the text or saw the number, I just started clapping, because all it was confirmation. I already knew who was riding anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I could jump in,
Go ahead, Tracy.
I just wanted to add, everybody said.
Sarah, go ahead, Tracy.
Again, thank you, Brenda, for opening up this platform to have the conversation. Another thing I'd like to add is implicit bias. I think that people really don't understand. I guess folks feel like if I'm not overtly saying anything racist, if I'm not acting in any way that's overtly racist, that I'm not racist and I'm not doing racist things and I like Black people. But sometimes there's a perception that you carry around in the back of your mind on what images you see on television, things you read, music you hear, things you've been told, that causes you to have what I call outbursts that we have to stop. And to Dr. O'Neill's point, we have to hold it in. We have to right-size how we feel because we've been taught we can't go there. So I think one of the starts is first, understand your implicit bias. And then number 2, privilege. When we start coming from the curtain of privilege and really calling people out and holding people accountable for their absolute unnecessary behavior. Deborah mentioned, we have comments, we have derogatory remarks, we have hurtful things that are said on social media because someone spray painted a fixture. But we have people who are deceased. We talk about conversations we have to have with our kids. I had to start having this conversation with my daughter at 11, and she's a girl.
Yeah.
I had to have this conversation with her on what you do, what you say. Believe it or not, Bug has a little temper, and she gets a little foxy at the mouth with me, but I have to continue to check that, because the minute you get out that door and I'm not there to protect you, that can go in a whole different direction. Who wants to have that kind of conversation about police officers and things they can do, and you cannot come home to an 11-year-old? And this is something I have to say to her every year. I have to refresh, I have to hit the refresh button every year just so that she can understand and she can get it. So to me, that's my 2 cents: implicit bias, privilege, and holding people accountable.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you. This is amazing. Sarah, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just something real quick. And so we all realize that everyone is not Brenda Lee. So we know that. And
thank goodness.
Well, I don't know about that, because like
I raised Brenda. Be careful.
You did.
Yes.
You all did. So, you all did.
So coming up, because coming up in the local chapter for me, it was hard. I had a rough presidency, which is why I kind of took some time off. So I'm not as involved now. And I will say it's going to be important for us to bring in other people. See, Marky's laughing because, I mean, I will say if Nakia was not there, because she looks like me, she understands. It was really rough.
Rough.
I did not. I made a conscious decision not to really get super involved in Women's Council, because I was exhausted mentally, and so we just have to be careful not to do that. Because you want to keep them involved and engaged. You give the organization all you got, and when you're constantly having to prove yourself over and above and beyond, and then you think you've taken the bullet for somebody, and then you see, and then the kid has to go through what she has to go through, and so you just see that so that's why the meeting after the meeting. And so just so you know, Brenda, in the meeting after the meetings, we write emails we want to send, but we don't send them. We say things that we want to say. We have role play, and then we just eat and drink, and then we go ahead. So that's the meeting after the meeting, and then we come back to real life, because that's the only way we can stay sane. But it's important for us, because Nakia and I was just having this conversation, like, who do we know that we can bring up, because we won't be here forever.
Right.
Because it's important to have that person, because I tell you, it was like, Nakia knows it was hard, like it was just very rough, and you can't show that how rough it is. You can't cry, you can't do all this, because and what I was going to be was a past president, so I was not quitting. That was never an option. But so so it's important for us to kind of make sure we are pulling other leaders up and having that conversation with diversity. All leaders, but when it comes to diversity, it is very important to have someone look like you, because there are things that we don't have to say to each other that we already know. Like, I don't have to, it just be like, oh, in Women's Council, oh, wait a minute, hold on, let me sit down, and what happened today? So, and we laugh, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is.
So, but everyone's not like you, and we realize that.
But here's the thing, and this is nothing about me. This is all about what are we going to do next? So I reached all of you, and Carrie, I know you have something you want to say. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. But let me just say one more thing. If you know someone, like there were other people we reached out to, but we just couldn't do it. So Jeff and I put this together so quickly. I was literally teaching a pre-license class, which is state mandated, 4 hours. And I'm on the phone with Jeff saying, we got to do this. And so can you send an email? Because we got to do it tomorrow. We can't be waiting around. What are we waiting for? And like Jeff said to me, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I get it. I know. And so we have to do this. So what I'm saying to you, and then I want to hear what Carrie has to say, is if you know someone that I can reach out to and have these conversations or encourage them or participate in some way or another, I'm looking to all of you to help me with this. All right.
Is that a PAG or something?
No,
You're trying to create some sort of diversity PAG or some sort of
this is the thing. It's the what's next. It's what is next. Okay, so this is our first. This is us talking to each other. I love you all. You've been so good to me.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to end with just you. We want it to be, something formed out of this to be an initiative. So
I 110% agree. This was simply the start. So thank you. Carrie, what do you want to add to the conversation?
So I'm going to change what I was going to say, just based on what you just said. I was talking to Marky earlier. I literally typed out everything because I just know my brain is like all over the place with what's happening. So when we say what's next, based on what Markey did about 48 hours ago, it made me actually, I'm just going to say it like this. It made me have a really hard conversation with someone, a conversation that I would not have had the George Floyd incident not happen.
Right.
And even after it was done last night at 9 o'clock, because I made the call yesterday and I sent a really hard email, even after that conversation, and this is what I say this often, white people don't know they're white. And I come from a very diverse family. My mother is Dutch and Swedish. So every day my mother moved us to a community where we would have diversity. So I would go to school and then I'd come home to a white lady. So, I mean, like, trust me when I tell you, when I see the old white man, I see my grandpa. But then I also know when I walk into a room that you show me who I am in seconds. So when we say what's next, we have to, the white person has to be able to pause and listen. And when I made that phone call yesterday, after I got the email from Jeff, even before that, I started to question what I did. These are the things that we deal with every day, because when we start to have these hard conversations, I start to think, okay, I'm Black, I'm female, and what did I just do? Now they're going to think I'm a complainer. Like, these are the struggles that we go through. So when we say what's next, whether it's Women's Council, whether it's our local association, state or national, or even just our communities, white people need to pause and they need to listen. When we tell our kids, because even if you see my son Jonathan, he is the darkest of my kids. When you see him and you see my even recent post that he's graduating, he's standing next to 1 Latino and 4 white kids. My kid he thinks differently. He's even arguing with me every Tuesday and Thursday when I take him to physical therapy about, Jonathan, if you get pulled over by the police, this is what needs to happen. He's like, Mom, this is not. I'm like, it's not going to happen. I'm like, dude, it is not about you. This is about survival.
Right.
So when we say what's next, it's we need to pause and listen, and actually listen to hear, not just listen and not do anything about it. So yes, what Tracy said is correct.
I think also what's next is, we have a captive audience once a year, right? Network 360, Leadership 360. Hopefully I don't get a fine for that. But
no fines.
we do a great job of conflict resolution. I know that's a class I've had for a few years, but we need to potentially look at leading a diverse population, diversity and leadership, something like that. That is a course that is sorely needed in Women's Council and other organizations. But, everyone knows I'm always let's move forward. What do we do? How do we move this needle forward? Mm-hmm. And I think when we are talking about actively recruiting diverse leaders, I think that should be a course as well. What does that look like if that's not something that you're comfortable or it's something that leaders haven't done in the past? So again, especially at once people become network presidents, state presidents, these are really, really important topics to be talking about. And I think we could add that to our toolkit.
She's right. She's right. And not just the At Home with Diversity course. I like the course.
Sure.
There's several of us that teach it, but these are real issues here. The diversity course is theory, and what we're talking here is practice. And so we need something that meets the both, which is what we do in the college classroom. Half of my time is spent teaching public policy. And so what we talked here was real life issues. And so we probably, we need to have a series of forums to develop that as far as leadership. When in 2004, NAR, you remember the Hope Awards? Okay, yeah. I wanted it as far as leadership that year. So they brought me in the next year and they said they were trying to have something similar to what we're doing right now. Is how do we bring the diversity in our leadership? None of the stuff that we talked about, Fred Underwood and I, nor adopted. None of it. It was just a waste. These are real issues. So when we talk about, and something that I've told my state, all of us, most of us in leadership, we're around the same age. We're in a 10-year span. All of us are going to retire, go on disability, or die around the same time. Serious. And there will be no leaders. And then the younger people coming up, they don't want to go with Joanne, do what Joanne do, rise up and lead. How many years did it take to do that? Oh, hell no.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness.
I mean, you know, we've talked about that. It takes too long to go up the ladder and your goals change. And so with Women's Council, one of the first things that happened today, what we say is that if you wanted to grow in leadership, you can here. So along with that forum on diversity, let's show people how that they can grow, how that can become better leaders, not just ride up the ladder in Women's Council. Let's see where it goes from here. Like Amy, who's running for county commissioner in Georgia. Right. You know, she's taking her leadership skills that she's learned here because the state of Georgia won't let her in leadership. They have blocked her, you know. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a race thing. They blocked her. And so that's the same thing what happened to me and some of the other people. So how do we develop and go beyond this with the skills and the professional development that we're learning here? So that could be another part of that forum, you know, that we are able to talk very frank to our membership. And I believe that the Women's Council can receive that. You know, how do we bring more people who are diverse, not just Black? I was looking at all of us on this pad that we have here. We are white to caramel. Where are the people that's darker than us? Mm-hmm. Much darker. They don't get in at all. Mm-hmm. And see, we need to say, come on with your chocolate beautiful self. You know, we love you. We see what you have to offer, and we need you in our organization. And so where are those people? They don't come. They don't come.
Okay. You know, I think, we, from here, Dr. is very right. We need something like a Panhellenic Advisory Council or a international council out of Women's Council that not only just state the diversity, that we have it in action. We have Hispanics, we have Asians, we have Blacks, and all of us are Black here. But you have a mixture of people to show that the intelligence is in all of us and that we're all on the same level, so it's intelligence. And I think the advisory council come up with maybe a better strategic plan of how we can become more and speak more to issues. It could be another course, a PMN course. I would love to see a PMN course regarding diversity coming out of Women's Council. I think we could do it better. We can acknowledge those things that happened to us and how to go forward, how we handle it, and what we don't plan to do anymore. I've become tougher in the last couple of months because of what's happened to us. And I think we have to start getting everybody, not only Black people, we have to have white people, Asians, Hispanic, everybody. Have people from Africa, all over the world that come into an international council that we can come up with initiatives that we're going to put forth. Look at who's in leadership, how to help somebody you see in an area network. Be in California, I see somebody to move on. And I think that is one way to get it started. I hate to say this, but it's going to hit us. And I think it's going to hit us when we're not expecting it. We have diversity and we have inclusion. We have a mission statement, okay? Somebody's going to get us on men not being able to take elective office on the executive. Somebody's going to get us. Mm-hmm. And we have, I know it's a women's organization, but we got this nice looking gentleman over here. We've had another gentleman over there for many years. Some gentleman's going to challenge our inclusion and our diversity. And I can't say anything about it. I can't tell them not to, because it's going to hit us.
You know what, Brenda, what I think is amazing, and we've submitted this, me and Carrie did last year. I don't understand how any organization comes up with a diversity panel with no diversity. How dreadful, right? And time again, we see a diversity panel with no diversity.
In
no
NAR
women,
or here?
This is diverse, right? But at NAR, we see your local association, your state association, NAR, like it's comical. It's
horrible. It's horrible.
And what Inman, I'm just gonna get to naming them all, right? Our individual franchise meetings, no diversity, right? And you mean to tell me, and this is where this is just crazy to me, you can't find one African American, one Asian, one Hispanic, one person who's gay, one person who's a lesbian. Like, it ain't really that hard, right?
It ain't not that hard.
It really isn't that hard.
No, it really isn't, because I can just go to my local association and put that there panel together. And so I don't understand, when will all of the real estate related organizations at any level get that a diversity panel must include diversity?
Exactly.
What ain't a diversity panel?
Yeah.
But that's a control issue.
Yeah.
That's a control issue. That's not a diversity issue. It's control.
Yeah.
Brenda, I think sorry.
Go ahead, Nikia.
Go right ahead.
No, Margot, I definitely.
You know what? I will always bow to you, Nikia. Go right ahead, my friend. Go right ahead.
You got it.
Margot, I insist.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, all right. The only thing I was going to say is, it's already been stated several times. Thank you, Madam President, for doing this, for taking this step. Although I will say my local association, we're doing this afterwards, but you on a national level are doing this. And I appreciate it. I think all of us do. And I think that the important thing about this is it's being recorded. Because I don't see Jeff taking a whole bunch of notes here. So, and there were a whole lot of suggestions. And there you go. And that's
but still,
the next steps or the action that follows. Because I said, as we look around us and we see so much passion in what's happening, unless there's some action,
right,
so that we can have some results from all of this, then it won't mean as much. So I appreciate this. I've heard the panel, the forum, I've heard classes, I've heard about the 360 and all of those things, because you can't hit it from one angle. You have to hit it from multiple angles, time and time again, for folks to really get it. Just as it was said that, every year you have to revisit and talk to your child. This is something that new leaders who come in need to know about, leaders who've been here forever and ignored it need to know about, and so on and so forth. So I commend you for bringing us together and listening. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you, President Brenda.
Indeed. And it is true. This is being recorded. And it's because we were hoping for this, right, Jeff? I'm like thrilled that you've given me that what's next. All right, because I needed to know what can we do, what's next, and so you've helped with that. Another thing, so much of your honesty and your candor is so greatly appreciated. Is there, we've gone a little over. Thank you for your time. But is there anything else anybody wants to share? Because this is just the beginning, as I've mentioned. But is there anything else as we wrap it up? Is there anything else you'd want to share?
Brenda, I'm going to just jump right in. I think you guys have got to look at the data, look at your membership, the makeup of your membership, and then take that data of the diversity, the diverse members, how many are holding office? I think you've got to look at, take a hard look at your membership and is your leadership reflective of the makeup of your national body?
Exactly.
Yeah, good insight. Deborah, you don't have anything you want to?
I'm done. I don't want to overdo, but this goes, I'm not done, I lied. This goes further than just, there's so much even into how we do business as professionals. Mm-hmm. Many people that are white don't know that I can walk into the listing appointment and know right then they were not expecting me to show up black. Okay, they were expecting something else, and it's dead. That listing appointment is gone. All right, I've had people have taken on me for clients, and they look at me again. They start testing me what I can do, what I cannot do, and so it does down to how you do business. As a matter of fact, they say NAR is just now finding out that the African Americans are the lowest on the scale of income, and a lot of them have had to have second jobs or they've had to have second hustles in order to make ends meet. They're not going to tell you that, but they have done it. So it goes all the way around a professional, how we do it, and getting support from brokers when they have minorities in their offices. I am one out of 80, one African man out of 80 agents. There's nobody that look like me.
Right.
Wow.
No. Okay, I'm the one. Now we have one Russian, two Russians, one Hispanic, one Puerto Rican. You know, we had like one of. That's one of. So it goes down professionally, and they have to know that this has to go all the way back down to how you do work. And when you have to go out there, I've been told at a listing appointment, they'll take a mediocre white agent before they take me as a Black agent to list a house. They don't want to give me the key. Like I'm just going to get up in the middle of the night and run to the house. So, you know, it's just, you know, I have nothing else to do tonight. I'm just going to run into my listings house tonight and try to take out the jewels or something. So, you know, it's just, they don't see you as a professional walking in there. I've had people tell me, report me on what I had on, but yet still another agent come in there with tights on, with holes in the knees and jeans, whatever, and nothing's happened. So you're judged differently and you're handled. That's all the way down to the business. And agents now coming out, how do you do that? How do you work that? How do you get out in business and work around that? Because we've had to do it. We all have had to do it. And what happens, the agents, they're not telling you that. The agents are not telling you that.
And Deborah's right, because I opened a company mainly because my husband said he wouldn't get his license unless I started a brokerage. But
exactly.
Recently, after I opened the company, well, and the other reason is there was no way I was going to be a managing broker at the large brokerage I was with.
Right.
Never. And so, and some of these managing brokers still call me today because they know I know what I'm doing, but they would not have promoted me to management.
Exactly.
In addition to that, I've been in arenas, and these are things that we never talk about until late at night after the meeting. And a lot of people on this call might know this, but I had a conversation. Well, someone approached me and said, "Okay, Carrie, that's interesting that you started a company. Is it going to be an African American company?" And I had to pause because I had to think about how I was going to respond to that person, because how I responded was going to impact my business. These are things that Deborah's right. When we talk about the business of the business, these are things that other races don't ever have to deal with. These are things I have to deal with. And I have interviewed all types of agents. And if you came to my company, you're either Latino, you're either from the Middle East, or you are either African American.
Implicit bias. Implicit bias.
And people will call me and pick my brain, but they will never work for me.
Right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yep. Doctor's right.
What are you saying, Marky? I see
I'm looking at it. That's how I'm saying. I can see these faces. I know these faces. Marky, what are you thinking?
I said I wouldn't answer their questions, but then they joke with me because I tell people all the time, I'll get back to you in 3 weeks, you know, and so most of them won't wait to meet with me no way. So it's all right with me.
And that's for the meeting after the meeting.
I cannot, I have to tell you, I cannot thank you enough. I started with tears. I feel like I may end with tears. But I say once again, thank you so much, not just for participating, because I knew you would, I knew that, but also so much for your honesty, for your candor, for your ability to give me hope, to forge ahead, to put together what's next. So thank you so much. And then before we stop, I want to make sure that I have a little message to those of you who are watching and listening. I hope that you listen with an open mind and an open heart. This is very important. Some of these topics they're very uncomfortable. We've said it several times. And you may not agree with all of them, but guess what? That's okay. Our respect and admiration for each other in this organization, of course, transcends any opinions that we have. So once again, ladies, now I'm going to end with a smile. I just want to thank you for all of these teaching moments that you provided us with. This is just great stuff. And I thank you.